Gabriella Annalisa grew up watching YouTube as an escape and is now a social media sensation. So how did she get to be so famous? From making videos in a Vegas content house to launching a clothing brand, the popular influencer has always been career-minded. American influencers tend to gravitate toward a handful of big cities, but few of them are actually from those places. Gabriella Annalisa fits the trend as she began her social media career from her family home in Pennsylvania before taking off for Vegas. Annalisa's family lived just outside of Philadelphia for a lot of her childhood before moving to a more rural location.
My family grew up in Philly, and then we moved to the farms.
Even after leaving Philly, she maintained a love for the city and remains a die-hard fan of the city's sports teams. Annalisa has said she likes the Flyers, Philly's hockey team. However, the Philadelphia Eagles take up the most space in her brain. The influencer has expressed an admiration for former Eagles tight end Zach Ertz, who now plays for the Washington Commanders. She's also confessed to being very into the former Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz. Before she got into football, Annalisa was already a huge soccer fanatic. She attributes this to her family being from Argentina and Italy, where the sport is a huge deal. She has also shown some love to the Yankees, but does not identify as a big baseball fan. YouTube is the second most popular website in the world, next to only Google, and it is used by just about everyone with an internet connection today. And since YouTube started in 2005, we are now at the point where a whole generation of people have no context for a world before online video. It makes sense then that Annalisa watched a lot of YouTube while she was growing up. She said during a 2021 interview on Tyler Boronsky's YouTube channel,
I always go home and watch YouTube, and I always have my people that I like to watch, and made me feel like it was an escape for me.
Annalisa's fascination with watching other vloggers soon developed into a desire to be a famous YouTuber herself. While Annalisa knew YouTube was where she wanted to land, she also realized that would be an uphill battle without an already established fan base. That is why she headed to TikTok, which had just started. She told Boronsky, "I saw TikTok taking off, and I was like, let me just hop on this. Maybe I can get my following and transfer that to YouTube," which is obviously very difficult. It's not easy to just transfer following to different platforms. As of April 2024, Annalisa has 229,000 YouTube subscribers in contrast to her 3.8 million followers on TikTok. Though Annalisa developed the dream of being YouTube famous as a child, she was too self-conscious to follow that dream while in school. In fact, it was on the day of her high school graduation that she finally decided to begin posting on social media regularly. She did not give a lot of thought to her brand at that point, and simply posted what she liked. She said on the Under the Timfluence podcast,
I was just testing everything. I was like, let me try a video like this. Let me try a video. And I was just like, whatever pops off first, then I'll just run with that.
The influencer was shocked when one of her random videos blew up overnight, and she actually hesitated to embrace it at first. The video focused on one of Annalisa's self-described nerdier passions. She said on the Under the Timfluence podcast, "So I made a video about Minecraft and it blew up, and I forgot I had linked my Instagram to my TikTok. Overnight it happened, it blew up. When I woke up the next morning, all these comments about Minecraft were all over my Instagram. I was like, oh my god." She started deleting comments before deciding to accept her interests without caring what others thought. Annalisa spent much of high school hiding her interests in art and computers and doing things she did not enjoy, such as cheerleading, so this was a big deal for her. Many of today's most famous influencers began their social media careers while still in high school, so the idea of college was never on the table due to that early success. Because she was too self-conscious to post before graduation, Annalisa was already enrolled in college when she hit it big. Her original plan was to be an art teacher, so in addition to posting videos online, she also attended a community college near home. In addition to posting on TikTok, she was also making daily YouTube videos, which took up a significant amount of time. Eventually, even her parents noticed. She said on the Timfluence podcast,
my dad came to me and he's like, you can't focus on two things that you want to do at once, so just drop out. And I was like,
wow.
Really? Because he saw how dedicated I was to it.
At that time, Annalisa was out of the house from 7 a.m. until 7:30 p.m. each day. She was going to between 6 and 8 hours of classes and coming up with content ideas in between. Once home, she would have to stay up until 4 a.m. to film and edit her content, which did not leave a lot of time for homework or sleep. Her dad's encouragement came around the same time as a television opportunity, prompting Annalisa to drop out after one semester. The TV show never materialized, but Annalisa did just fine without it. The Hype House, the Sway House, the Phase House, there's no shortage of content houses that have launched their members to fame. However, the vast majority of them have been male-dominated and centered in Los Angeles. Society Las Vegas was different, in that it was a Nevada-based house and nearly all of its members were young women. The Vegas content house included Jordan Beckham, Kayla Patterson, and Hannah Ivana amongst its first influencers. A then 19-year-old Gabriella Annalisa was also one of the first members when the house began in February 2021. Annalisa announced her big move on YouTube, where she acknowledged never having lived anywhere aside from her parents' home. She appeared excited to make the move across the country, and who can blame her? After all, Society Las Vegas was set up in a 6-bedroom, 6-bathroom house only 15 minutes from the Vegas Strip. The house was also outfitted with everything from an outdoor pool to a tennis court. She told Tyler Bronski,
It had a lot of opportunities for me, so I think if you're trying to get into social media, content houses are amazing to be a part of.
While Annalisa made friends and enjoyed her time there, she also said creators should view content houses as a short-term thing and not a longer-term commitment. Annalisa never wanted to be in a content house for the long term, but that wasn't because of the people around her. In fact, when she left Society Las Vegas after 5 months, it was alongside a few of her roommates who also felt like they were through with Nevada. She told Bronski,
We were going to LA every weekend, and we were kind of had no other creative ideas to do in Las Vegas.
In search of new backdrops and collaborations, they decided to head out to Miami. She told her audience in a July 2021 YouTube video that it had always been her dream to move to the city. Annalisa has said that she had opportunities in both Miami and Los Angeles, but that she felt the former would be a better fit for her and also better for her mental health. After 3 months in Florida, however, things fell apart when a roommate's family situation forced them to break their lease. Annalisa went back to Pennsylvania for a bit, but after realizing she was miserable at home, moved back to the Sunshine State only a few months later. She sees Florida as the perfect place for a young influencer with an entrepreneurial mindset, telling the Timfluence podcast.
For me, with my business, I think it's good. I meet a lot of really good people. The people are very nice here, too.
Social media has long been a place for young singers to get discovered, and some of the biggest names in music, like Justin Bieber, have the internet to thank for their rise to stardom. But with so many people vying for musical fame, it is becoming increasingly difficult to stand out online. Annalisa has expressed a desire to do music, but she does not appear to be in a rush to get her singing career off the ground. In 2021, the young influencer said she was going to move toward focusing on her singing and on DJing, but she has not made huge strides toward those goals. Still, she has a built-in audience that will clearly listen whenever she does decide to make music a real priority. Since her mother was a singer, Annalisa says she was pushed into music as a young child. She began vocal lessons in elementary school and was at one point involved with the School of Rock educational program. Annalisa took a break from music when she started on social media, but regained a spark for it after discovering DJing. She started learning how to lay her vocals over tracks to produce her own music and has expressed a desire to do more of that in the future. In addition to music, Annalisa has expressed a desire to act and to engage in motivational speaking.
There's a lot that I want to accomplish.
Annalisa has been very open about her mental health struggles, in particular the anxiety disorder that has long impacted her life.
I always had problems with my mental health, with anxiety.
Being an influencer has not really helped, since there is additional stress from not only the online interactions, but also the offline ones. For starters, Annalisa has had issues dealing with the negativity that exists online. She said on the Wild Chat podcast, the comments you have to get used to if you're not used to it, and that's a struggle. But also comparing yourself to other people in your space is very demotivating sometimes. In that same interview, Annalisa said that her job's impact on mental health was the hardest part of being an influencer, and that TikTok was the most toxic of all online spaces. Beyond everything that happens online, the popular star also struggles with the offline expectations for a big-name influencer. She explained on the Timfluence podcast, "The party life is a bit much for me, and even if you're not doing it, I feel like it's a bit taxing, on yourself, because you're constantly getting asked to go here, doing this, doing that." That is one reason why Annalisa moved to Miami instead of Los Angeles, where the pressure to live a certain lifestyle is sky high.
I was just I always hear really bad things about LA. I don't know if that would be great for me.
Annalisa is so invested in talking about mental health that she has made it a big part of her brand. And it is only natural that she developed merch to capitalize on this, since she is an influencer at the end of the day. Annalisa jumped headfirst into the business world when she helped co-found the brand Comfort, a line of hoodies that are focused on promoting mental health. The company notes this on their social media accounts, as well as in their explanation for their choice in materials, which aim to put the body in a calm state. There is also a resource page on the website linking visitors to different crisis lines and other informational resources. Annalisa's move into production was a natural one since she was already advertising products online. On Snapchat, she was promoting Purely White Deluxe, a teeth whitening product, when the company owner approached her with an idea. She explained on the Timfluence podcast, "So he wanted to make a whole hoodie line, and I was like, okay, and I wanted to do something with mental health."
So we put our ideas together and we came out with Comfort.
While Annalisa was talking about Comfort as recently as August 2023, she later told the Teen Mag that she left the company prior to starting her podcast, which means her departure happened sometime before September 2023. Influencers have explored all sorts of ways to make money, from the conventional, like selling merch or writing books, to the unconventional, like boxing matches. Podcasting is one of the more conventional undertakings. It makes for a natural fit, too, because it requires content creators to work on a set schedule, but allows them plenty of creative freedom. It also has a natural overlap with social media, particularly YouTube, where it is common to post video versions of podcast interviews. Still, podcasting only really works if an influencer is committed, and if they have a solid enough brand that it will make their followers jump over from YouTube, TikTok, or wherever else they consume content. So far, the podcast thing is working for Annalisa, who launched her Always By Your Side show in September 2023. Annalisa had already been a guest on many others' podcasts by that time, but was compelled to start her own after going through a tough period where she felt alone. She told the Teen Mag, "I started my podcast because I went through a tough season of trials in my life. In that time, I went through a really toxic breakup. My best friend passed away, and I stepped away from my company. I sat and thought about how God had blessed me with a platform and that I should use it for good." Annalisa now strives to release new podcast episodes every Monday. On November 14th, 2023, Annalisa posted a YouTube video about being engaged. The video came just 8 days after she announced the engagement in an Instagram post. The post seemingly came out of nowhere to many of her fans, seeing as she never even featured her partner on her social media. Additionally, during her August 2023 interview on the Timfluence podcast, Annalisa said she wasn't even dating anyone. The influencer and her fiancé, KB, ran down the timeline in their YouTube video. They also confessed to waiting a day to announce their engagement so they could avoid any negative comments. According to the video, the couple first met in 2021 when Annalisa had a boyfriend, so they were talking on and off for years before things got romantic. Things were unlabeled for a while, but once they became official, an engagement followed within less than 3 months.
Yeah, so that was the whole story of our engagement.
All good podcasts need a hook, and for Annalisa, that hook has been religion. Though she has always been religious, Annalisa's faith was not always heavily featured in her social media posts. For a while, her posts were heavily focused on thirst traps. The thirst traps are still around, but lately there has been a clear shift toward God-focused content. Annalisa's religious beliefs can most vividly be seen on her YouTube page, which is where she posts videos of her podcast. The podcast's topics have included being a Christian, 5 steps to find God and leave the past behind, and the how-to on building your relationship with the Lord. Annalisa has also discussed how she feels about being called a Jesus freak, and even enlisted her fiancé to help her cover the topic, she said on her podcast.
I hate even putting Jesus and freak in the same sentence. It makes me sad.
I like it.
Like, being a Jesus freak is not a bad thing.
Annalisa has a larger-than-life presence, but fans who meet her in real life might be surprised to learn that Annalisa's large personality is wrapped up in a tiny body. Though her IMDb page erroneously lists her at 5'7", Annalisa is actually under 5 feet tall, standing at 4'11". She even made a TikTok video about how most people probably have not met a woman her size. With her jokey videos about height, Annalisa seems relatively comfortable with being little. Still, there is one area where her height has held her back, and that is modeling, which she has expressed a desire to do. Tyler Bronski asked the star about it in their interview, and she was honest about how the industry standards were not inclusive of people like her. She said, "I used to model when I was little, and then I grew up and never grew. Usually they want really tall girls or really skinny girls, and I think I'm neither." Though the modeling industry has become more open to petite models, petite is usually defined as being between 5'2" and 5'6".